All right, so today what I'd like to do is actually start putting in the controller object. So the controller is the thing that's going to keep track of the lives, whether or not we're supposed to go to the next room, that kind of stuff. The controller object is going to be an object without a sprite, kind of like the master brick, except we're actually going to place it in the room, whereas the master brick we're never going to place in the room. So I'm going to create a new object called controller_o. He doesn't need a sprite because he's not going to be visible. And here is where I'd like to put in the starting lives, showing the lives, going to the next room, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to start with other and game start, much like we did with the avatar. And the thing that I'm going to start with is lives and showing the lives. So under score is where that's located. I'm going to set my number of lives using the gray heart command. I'm going to give myself 3 lives. I don't want relative because I want to set it to exactly 3 at the beginning of the game. And then in order to show the score caption, that's this SLH thing at the bottom, I'm going to drag that in. I want to show my score and I want to show my lives. So for starters, that's all I need here. Other things I'd like to do is I'd like to make it so that if I get rid of all the bricks in the room, I would like to go to the next room. I'm going to have to be constantly counting up how many there are, so every step I'm going to have to count that up. So I'm going to add a step event. And then to count the number of bricks, I'm going to go under control, and there's this blue 1, 2, 3 command. This guy counts up how many objects we have. They're called instances of objects. Every time I create one, I'm creating a new instance. So the type of object I'm counting is actually master bricks, which seems kind of weird in that I never place a master brick in the room. But this will count up the master brick and anything that's a child of it. So by doing this, I'm counting up all brick 5s and brick 10s and any other bricks that I create that use master brick as its parent. So this actually makes it much easier for me. So if the number of master bricks is 0, I want to go to the next room. So under main 1, next room is the right arrow gray command. And I'm going to do this one, I guess. Now, at the moment, even though I've created this object, it's not going to work until I place it in the room. So in my room, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out all but one of these bricks. That will make it much easier to test this. And then I'm going to place the controller in the room. Doesn't matter where, just somewhere. You'll see it in the room, but when you run it, it doesn't show up. So it's not there. Good. See if I can get it to hit. There we go. And that makes sense because I'm going to the next room and I only have one room. So we'll fix that once we have a second room. Good. All right. Something else I would like to do is this thing still goes off the end of the room and we don't do anything about it. So I'd like to make it so that this ball object, when it leaves the room, it subtracts a life and deal with the no more live stuff. So the ball object, I'm going to make it so that when this thing goes outside the room, I'm going to jump it back to the middle. I'm going to add an event, other, and the very top one here is outside room. This allows me to check to see if it left the room. So something I would like to do is check to see how many ball objects there are. So later on in the class, I'm going to put together a brick that creates 2 or 3 more ball objects that go around the room. The trick is that I would like to make it so only when the last one leaves the room do I lose a life. So I'm actually going to count up how many ball objects there are in the room and do different things depending on that. So I'm going to say if the number of ball objects is currently 1, so if I have exactly 1, that's when I need to do all my stuff in between this start and end block having to do with losing a life. So what I'd like to do is I would like to set my lives to be -1 relative, so I'm going to subtract a life. I want to jump the ball object back to its starting position. Actually, now that I think about it, I probably want to jump it to a spot on the screen. So mine is currently at, if you look down at the X and Y position down here, mine's at 288, 272. It'll probably be different for your game. So I'm going to jump back to that point. 288, 272. And if I don't tell it to stop moving, it's still going to have the speed it had when it left the screen. So I better tell the ball to stop. These are both self, because it's the ball object that needs to do that. All right, so what happens if there's more than one? So if there's more than one ball object, I'm just going to destroy the one that just left the room. So if I have 3 of them moving around and one of them leaves the room, it's just dead. Goodbye. So that's under main 1, the garbage can. Okay, so let me go ahead and see if having it leave the room works. Good. And indeed, there are 2 lives. 1 life, 0 lives, -1 lives. Ah, yes, we should deal with what happens when you have no lives left. So I'm going to put that in the controller. So the controller has game start, step, and it's also going to have no more lives. So that when I run out of lives, I need to do the various things that I did in the catch game to ask if there's, if they want to play again, ask them about high score table, all that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and say, all right, show me the high score table. And then ask them, hey, do you want to play again? Do you want to play again? Hey, with proper English even. So if that is true, so if they hit the yes button, I want to do whatever is between this start and end block. Otherwise, I want to do whatever is here. So I'm going to restart if they say yes, I want to play again, and I'm going to end the game if they're like, no, I don't ever want to play your stupid game ever again. So let's make sure that works. Death. Oh! Here, let me put in more than 1 block so that I can test this. There we go. 2 lives, 1 life. Death. Good. No. Away we go. All right, I did all that work about destroying multiple ball objects. I should put in a brick that does that for me. So I think I'm going to create a brick where when I hit it with the ball, it's going to create 2 more, because that sounds funny to me. Create sprite. So this will be multi, I guess, sprite. I'm going to load in 1 from my default sprites. That's close. That looks more like a bomb than a ball, but I'll edit that real quick. So if you've never edited a sprite before, you can go into this edit button, edit sprite. If I click on that, this would show multiple images. If it was an animated one, I only have 1. So if I double click on this, there's a little kind of paint screen that I can manipulate the sprite in. So I would like to make it so that these 2 red things are gone. So I'm going to grab that color, draw that one in, grab that color, draw that one in. That looks better. Good. Now I'm going to create an object which has that sprite. Multi object. It has that sprite. So I have to do this much like I did brick 10 and 5. So it's going to be solid. Its parent is going to be master brick. I'm going to add a collision with the ball object and call my parent event. So those are the things that all of the bricks are going to have in common. If you forgot, go just check out one of these other ones. Solid, parent, collision, call the inherited event. Now what I'd like to do is create 2 moving ball objects. So under main 1, where the destroy is, there's also a couple of create events. I'm going to use the one where it starts moving. So create a moving instance of something. So if I go to the ball object, I want to create that. The x and y position, well, where I would like to create it is actually where this particular ball object is. There's a problem though. If I use the name ball underscore o, and I have 5 or 6 of them in the room, the name ball underscore o refers to whoever was the first one created, not necessarily the one that just hit this brick. However, I can use the keyword other to refer to that one. So I'm going to say other.x and other.y. And that refers to this particular ball that just collided with the multi-brick. I forget what my speed is. I think it's 8. And then I'm going to have it go in a random direction, much like I do in the previous ball object. So random 360. So I would actually like to create 2 of them. And the way I do that is I just do 2 of these events. Being the lazy person I am, I'm just going to copy and paste this so I don't have to retype all that. Now, one nice thing is that because I set the controller to go to the next room whenever the master bricks are gone, it's already counting multi because multi is a child of master brick. Fantastic. It is testing time. These things can go away. Multi-brick, yay. All right. I'm sure nothing will go wrong with this. Yes, indeed, that works very well. All right, so I've got multiple bricks. When they leave the room, they get destroyed. It's not just, I didn't lose all my lives immediately. And that gives me most of what I need. So next time, my plan is to go over some of the subtle things, like we can still hit the spacebar multiple times. It would be nice to have more control over the ball hitting the bar. So if you hit more on the right side, it goes more to the right, and hits on the left, it goes more to the left. Because right now, it's possible you just get a diamond pattern and can never get the corners. There's another possibility that when it randomly picks a direction, it picks 0 or 180 and just goes back and forth forever. That's a problem as well. So we'll fix some of those subtle things later on and also put instructions in the game.